Hello MTV, and welcome to my crib. Just kidding, Unstoppable fans, you're in the right place. I'm Savannah Gajda, joining you from the 5th floor studio of SMPA with my incredible co-anchor, Celeste Noraian. If you ask me, I'd say this studio is a lot better than any house you've seen on MTV. We are overjoyed to be back after broadcasting virtually from home this past year.
This is a little different than seeing us on a Zoom screen. Hopefully we look better, right? All jokes aside, I'm Celeste Noraian. This is my first shoot in the studio, and I'm so excited to talk about all things GW Fall Sports. We've got a surprise for you, so stay tuned until the end.
We're serving our rundown with women's volleyball. The team has not won a single match so far this season, and all they have left is A10 play. They came close to beating Duquesne and Maryland Eastern Shore on home court, but were ultimately downed 3-2 at the end of the final set, respectively. Freshman Salem Johannes sits on the team's leadership throne with 141.5 points and 130 kills. Senior Lauren Lebec has also been soaring through the stat sheet with 317 assists, ranking 8th in most assists in the A10. To put into perspective how impressive that is, the second highest number of assists on GW's team is 46 by senior Heather Merriman. The Colonials have 4 consecutive home games beginning October 22nd, so hopefully the Smith Center will bring them some of that home court luck.
Men's water polo started their season off at the Navy Open with a 7-point win against Iona. Continuing that weekend, GW battled number 3 ranked Cal and number 14 Princeton. Although both ended in a loss, I see great potential for the Colonials this season. Competing with high-ranked teams is how they will return to the top of the Mid-Atlantic Water Polo Conference. They have a deep roster this season with strong veterans, returning 8 of the 9 student athletes who contributed goals in the spring season. There's also some impactful newcomers showing their talent in the pool. Some names to know from last season include goalkeeper Luca Castorina, who stopped 58.9% of the shots he faced during his rookie season last year, and 2-time All-Conference selection and former All-American Andres Levi. Beating Brown in overtime at the Harvard Mini Invitational shows the heart and championship mentality GW is bringing into this season.
Swinging into men's golf, the team started the season off slow by placing 16th overall out of 21 teams in the Jean Miranda Falcon Invitational hosted by Air Force. They placed second to last in their last 2 tournaments. Despite the low standings, certain players achieved personal milestones. Senior Luis Preciado sank the first hole-in-one of his career on a par 3 from 142 yards at the Jean Miranda Falcon Invitational. Freshman Luke Liu and Arav Patel led the Colonials for the first time in their collegiate careers, tying for 38th overall on the player leaderboard of the Hamptons Intercollegiate. The team has 2 more chances of redemption when they travel to Elan and UNC Greensboro for their final 2 meets of the fall season.
Women's soccer had their first win of the season, scoring 3 goals against Richmond. The Manchester first years had a good connection in the 76th minute where Alicia Window snagged a killer goal past the Richmond goalkeeper after an assist from Amelia Booth. Although GW lost against number 3 ranked Virginia at the beginning of the season, they were the first team to score on the Cavaliers, which says a lot about their strong work ethic. 11 new faces joined the women's soccer program this fall, including 2 graduate transfers and 9 first years. After some tough losses, GW is still working on finding their powerful 11 on the field. But there's still some time before the A10 quarterfinals. I know they have the talent and the fight to compete, and I'm looking forward to seeing that on the field.
It's been a low-winning soccer season on the Vern as the GW men's soccer team is also struggling to pick up more wins. The team currently stands at 3-8-1 overall and 1-3 in A10 conference play. Graduate standout Oscar Haynes Brown, who made the Atlantic 10 All-Conference first team last season, is once again leading the team with 4 goals and 9 points. Junior Tom Cookland is right behind Haynes Brown with 8 points. Goalkeeper Justin Grady has not allowed more than 3 goals in a game this season. Grady matched a career high with 6 saves in GW's matchup against St. Joseph's. Though the team's record may not be so glamorous right now, they beat Fordham in a rematch of last spring's A10 championship final, which the Rams won 2-0 last season for an automatic NCAA berth and, of course, bragging rights. Fear not, the Colonials' 2-1 win against Fordham this season gives us hope, that the conference championship trophy could find a new home in Foggy Bottom.
Setting the pace, men's cross country won their first 2 races at the Mount St. Mary's 5K Duels and the JMU Invitational. This marked the first time in program history where GW opened their season with 2 straight first-place team finishes. It is only the beginning and PRs have already been broken. At the Paul Short Run, GW finished 24th with 3 top 200 finishes. James Glockenmeyer placed the men for the second event in a row, placing 120th overall with a personal record time of 24:55.7. 3 of the 6 GW runners established new best times in the 8K. Now let me just say, the Colonials have a good chance in the A10 after already beating some competitors this season.
Running over to women's cross country, the Colonials started strong by placing first overall in the first 2 meets of the season at Mount St. Mary's 5K Duels and the JMU Invitational. They placed 8th overall at the Paul Short Run, a premier event which hosted over 5,000 runners and almost 450 colleges and high schools, including Northern Arizona University, one of the strongest teams in the nation. The Colonials were also first among A10 competitors.
Women's swimming and diving are off to a strong start. Diver Jamie Doak finished 3rd on both diving boards against Virginia Tech. Her score on the 1-meter dive led her to beat her career high by nearly 16 points, very close to the program's record, and qualifies her to NCAA zones. 3 rookies stepped up to the block, making team best times. Names include Julia Knox, Mariah Freitas, and Molly Smyers. Graduate transfer from Duke, Carly Perry, also led the way in the 200 fly. There are plenty of returners adding to the large success GW will have this year.
Jumping into men's swimming and diving, the team competed in the Smith Center for the first time in almost 2 years. Their season opener against Virginia Tech was aired on ESPN Plus for the first time ever. The Colonials fell to the Hokies, but certain swimmers had their time to shine. Karol Młynarczyk, the Polish beast from Warsaw, Poland, my homeland Warszawa, once again worked up a storm in the pool. Last year's A10 Most Outstanding Performer, Młynarczyk was runner-up to All-American Samuel Tornquist in this meet's 100 and 200-meter backstrokes respectively. Despite the loss, GW swimmers comprised the top 3 of the 200-meter individual medley and the top 4 of the 500-yard freestyle. The defending champions are striving to win their 5th A10 championship in 6 years, so we've got a fun season ahead of us in the water. Here to talk more about men's and women's swimming and diving is the studio's best, Richie Wright. Richie, what insight do you have on our Colonials?
Well, after looking at the stats from their first meet with Virginia Tech, I honestly think there's a lot of hope and positives to draw from their opening round losses. Alongside many of the returning members, there's a lot of newcomers as well, and I think that they really showed up in this first meet. There was a lot of strong performances from some first-time swimmers and divers on both sides for the men's and women's teams, and I think that they're definitely going to energize the other teammates that have been there for a while and continue to improve as the season progresses.
Absolutely, and that's something head coach Brian Thomas mentioned, is that for the 3.5 hours that they were competing at the meet, the entire team was so full of energy and enthusiasm. Yeah,
they really were, and I think you have to look to some standout performances. Like you said, Młynarczyk was one of the best performers on the men's side. For the women's side, you had Jamie Doak and Erin McCarthy. They were 2 standouts for members that have been there for several years. They're junior and senior respectively. I know for Jamie Doak, she was on the 1-meter board and she had a 269.25, which was 3rd best for the meet and also her personal best ever. So I know that's a really promising sign for her as she looks to continue upping her performance throughout the season.
I think that Jamie Doak is definitely the diver to look out for this season because her dive at Virginia Tech actually qualifies her to NCAA zones, and there's only a couple divers on the GW team, so I'm really excited to see what she has in store.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to note that this is a young team as well. Like Richie said, we have returning players and we also have new players, and Młynarczyk is such a standout. And despite his loss, I think it's really important to factor in that he was competing against a graduate student, Samuel Tornquist from Virginia Tech, who has had over 25 Swedish national medals. He's a very tough competitor, so to have a sophomore go up against somebody 3 years his senior, that's very impressive.
I agree.
I would agree, and since you're talking of national medals on an international scale, Mlinarczyk was also trying to compete for the Tokyo Olympics this summer, and he missed out by less than two-thirds of a second, actually, to be on the Polish team for the Olympics. So that just speaks a lot to how I think he's going to take that tough, narrow loss for the Olympics and really bring it to help motivate him for this whole season. And like you said, with a lot of rookies on the team, Connor Rogers on the men's, he's a freshman from California. He did the 200 free and the 200 fly. He placed 4th and 5th place respectively in those, and that's among the best performances among first years on the men's side. And for the women's, there was plenty of ladies that were also doing well. Julia Knox comes to mind. She just performed outstanding, and I think it's just a lot of promise and a lot of hope for this team.
Yeah, and if there's one thing to know is that loss fuels success, so I think we have some high hopes for this team. Richie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We've got a brand new segment for all you avid GW sports fans. Presenting to you, Unstoppable's top 3 plays. In 3rd place, we've got Bella Bowman joining the women's volleyball program's all-time top 10 leaderboard of most digs in a collegiate career. Bowman made program history by marking 23 digs in her match against Duquesne and 1,238 digs overall, dethroning Maggie Wright from the 10th place seat.
Ranking 2nd is a play from the men's soccer game at Fordham. Goalkeeper Justin Grady sent a booming punt which found the head of Oscar Haynes Brown and then the foot of Tom Cookland for an insane goal and win against the Rams. This was a big win for GW after losing to Fordham at the A10 championship last season.
Drumroll, please. In 1st place, we have Jamie Doak's exceptional performance in the 1-meter dive. Doak not only achieved a personal best score of 269.25, she also qualified for the NCAA Zone Championships for the first time. Congratulations to Jamie on this diving accomplishment and, of course, on winning Unstoppable's first ever top play.
Hello, Unstoppable fans, and welcome to Hot Takes. I'm your host, Arjun Kaul, and I will be asking our 2 anchors a series of questions that will hopefully lead to some heated discussion. First, after Tom Brady and Bill Belichick faced off against each other for the first time in one of the most hyped-up regular season games of all time, who do you think executed better between Tom Brady or Bill Belichick?
I want to hear your side first.
Gotta be the Bucks. Love or hate the man, Tom Brady always pulls through. You gotta give it to him. He's so athletic. He's elite. I mean, no touchdowns, but he's breaking the all-time passing record at his old stadium. I mean, come on, that's impressive.
You know, I have to say I agree with you on this. You know, I was kind of hoping for a little argument about this, but, you know, I do agree. You know, maybe some emotions and nerves played, like with Brady, but, you know, he won, he had 20 years with the Patriots and 6 Super Bowl wins, and so this man is a player, like a great player, and whatever team he's on, he makes it great. And although, I do have to say he had 22 of 43 passes for a season low 269 yards. You know, that's not great. And he did have the lowest passing rating. I did see that, 70.8. But I do have to say we still have to give it to Brady because their team still came out on top.
Yeah, not to mention the defense destroying the Pats running record. I mean, -1 yards. I feel bad for them.
You know, I'm going to have to give this point to Savannah. I do think Brady pulled it out because if they did lose, they would be 2-2 in their division behind the Panthers, and right now they are at 3-1 at the top. So definitely I do think Tom Brady executed better. Next, since the NBA Finals is starting soon, what is your guys' early prediction of the matchup, and who do you think will ultimately win the NBA Finals? I'll give it to Savannah to start this one.
All right. I gotta say, Eastern Conference could be between the Nets or the Bucks, and I got the Lakers on the Western side.
I was thinking the Lakers and the Bucks, and let me just say, MVP on the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's 7'3" wingspan. 7'3" wingspan. This man got it. And they're also returning most of the roster this season. So since they were in the NBA Finals last year, I think that they have good success this year. And the Lakers, you can't ignore the super team, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Now that's a power trio.
Absolutely. That trio is going to be unstoppable. I think it's also going to come down to health. And Kyrie Irving, because last year you had James Harden injured, but if KD, James Harden, and Kyrie are all in the game, then Giannis is going home. And I hate to say that because I'm a big Giannis fan. He's my favorite NBA player, but that was a tough playoff match last season. And I really think that the Bucks pulled through because they lucked out with injuries on the Nets side.
You know, I think I'm going to have to give this to Savannah, too, for bringing up the Brooklyn Nets. That's who I kind of have winning it, especially with Durant, Harden, and Kyrie, hopefully, if he plays. And watching Game 7 against the Bucks, seeing that overtime win, it was close. But I do have the Nets beating the Lakers for the finals. So I'll give it to Savannah for bringing up the Nets. Now, transitioning into the Halloween portion of our episode, I want to ask our co-anchors, what is your favorite Disney Halloween movie?
Celeste, take it away.
Twitches. You know, Tia and Tamara Mowry, those twins, they aren't just sisters, they're twitches. And you know, twin sisters, best thing, twin witches. And you know, I would say that they're just a strong woman duo. You know, after they accomplished the darkness, I thought I could accomplish anything. I don't know about you, but that's definitely my favorite. How about you?
Solid pick, I gotta say. I respect it, but I'm gonna stick with Hocus Pocus on this one. I've seen the movie too many times to even count on two hands anymore. And I also think that triplets beats twin sisters. So.
Wow, that was heated. I definitely did like Hocus Pocus, but Celeste is going to get this point. I mean, Twitches was an insane movie, especially when the clouds of darkness come. I was scared by that for weeks, and seeing it as a Disney movie, I did not expect that. So Twitches gets the point for this one. Now, this is a very controversial question, but what is your favorite Halloween candy? Celeste?
I would say the Reese's with the pumpkin shape because, you know, just like it's a good combination of peanut butter and chocolate, and you can only have it a certain time of year. Perfect Halloween candy, you know, handed out for everyone. Peanut butter and chocolate is just the best combination. How about
I'm
you?
very serious about this one. Take 5. Yep. Not a lot of people, I feel like not a lot of people know about it, but I'll never forget. I was 8 years old. One of my neighbors gave me a Take 5, and I went home and I just felt born again. Really, biting into that candy bar was the best moment of my life. It's milk chocolate, peanut butter, peanuts, caramel, and pretzels. So 2 of my favorite candy bars, Snickers and Twix, had a baby plus pretzels. Take 5. It's the best.
I would say that is my favorite as well, but for Halloween's sake, I think that a pumpkin is the perfect festive Halloween candy.
I don't know about you, but I've never had a Take 5, so I cannot give this point to Savannah. Celeste, you'll get it with your Reese's. However, mine would probably be Sour Patch Kids. And so now we have a tie, and we have a last-second tiebreaker question. Again, Halloween related. What is the best costume you've ever dressed up as? So, Savannah, take it on.
I'm going to pass this one to Celeste. I got to think about this one.
This was when I was really little. I was a twister board, and I got paint from, you know, like the costume store. And so like to go with my like my dots all over me, I had a yellow spot right on my face. So, you know, everyone could look at me. And, you know, I got a couple laughs, but I thought that I was creative.
I don't think I can compete with that. I'll be honest. all my costumes are so generic. Like growing up, Disney princess, Aurora was my favorite. I was dressed in all pink, Ladybug, Angel, Devil, you name it. A lot of my costumes hand-me-downs from my older sisters. So I think the twister board's really original.
Yeah, no, that twister board.
I would love to see that.
I mean, I would
show you a
love
picture.
to. We'll spin it, get the yellow one, and just like bop you in the face. No, I definitely love the twister board. I think, Celeste, you've won our first segment of Hot Takes.
Woo! Congrats.
Right back at you. Next month, we have a very special guest appearance here in the SNPA studio. Jamie and Christian, head coach of the GW men's basketball team, will be joining us for an exclusive interview right before the start of basketball season. You won't want to miss this one.
For more GW exclusive content, be sure to check out our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter with the handles below. Well, that's all of our GW sports recap for the day. As much as we want to continue, Savannah and I have a serious Halloween movie marathon we need to get to.
Oh yeah, reruns of Twitches and Hocus Pocus all day long. Thank you so much for tuning into our season premiere of Unstoppable. As always, raise high.